for a period of time, understands and follows these 40 steps, there's no reason under the sun the person will not get it. Very, very beautifully done. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Śaṅkaram Loka Śaṅkaram Śaṅkaram Śaṅkaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavartaye Shuddha Jnanaika Murtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Vyasa Śaṅkara Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Sadvidvan upasrupyatam pratidinam tat paduka sevyatam. May one approach a guru with the right attitude. Repeated so many times in so many different places in the Gita, in other Upanishads. Even to do that, there must be a bank of punya to be able to find an appropriate guru. A guru who is a Shrotriya Brahmanistha. All right, the sadhaka has prepared all himself or herself with all these previous steps, has adequate punya to find a guru. Then what do? What do you ask the guru? Initially, the traditional system, the sadhaka went to the guru and did only seva. Tat paduka sevyatam. Symbolized by tat paduka sevyatam. That attitude continues to remain even if physically one may or may not. But what do you ask the guru? Our best bet is probably Arjuna. He went and told Lord Krishna, after giving all kind of arguments on why he should not fight. What will happen if he fights at war? What will happen to the Kula? How will it get destroyed? How it is such a great papa to kill one's own relatives and guru? All sort of arguments he had presented, all of which look very logical. But he knew in his heart of hearts there was something wrong. So he simply said, I am confused. I don't understand what to do. Please accept me as your Shishya and tell me clearly what I should do. Throughout the Gita, he repeats this over and over and over again. See, in 2nd chapter, 3rd chapter, 5th chapter. But his position is more like ours. But if you look at the kind of questions other Shishyas had asked in the Upanishads, it shows that they are already people who have understood a lot. Nachiketa in Kathopanishad asks starts by asking, is there something after the body has fallen? Some say there is, some say there isn't. And Yamadharmaraja says, look, it's too early for you to get the answer to that question. Even Devas have the same questions even today. They're also struggling. They also don't know. They also have doubts. Because eventually, Nachiketa proves that he is ready. Therefore, Yamadharmaraja teaches him. In Śāntaka Upanishad, the father as the teacher kindles the son, Shvetaketu. The son has come back from the Gurukulam thinking he knows everything. Father asks, did your teacher teach you that which, knowing which you know everything? Initially, his reaction, as very normal with people, was there can't be such a knowledge, or if such a knowledge is there, my Guru didn't know. But he thought and maybe came to think that there has to be something. His father is asking him. His father is a great jnani. Is there such a jnanam? Can you teach me? Similarly, Taittiriya Upanishad, direct question. Adihi bhagavo brahmeti. Teach me Brahma jnanam. Or we recently saw in the Mundaka Upanishad, Kasmin bhagavo vijñāte sarvam vijñātam bhavati iti. Knowing which, same question that, or a similar question that Uddhalaka made Shvetaketu think about. So clearly you have to go and ask for it. Ask for that knowledge. Once the Shishya, Sadhaka, been accepted by the Guru, goes and asks such a question, the Guru also has a responsibility. It becomes the responsibility of the Guru to make sure that the Shishya understands. Guru takes the initial time before accepting the Shishya to assess the level of preparation. Has he got all the adhikaritvam? And in some cases, he might see where there are certain areas where there's a lack. The Guru will encourage the Shishya to complete those. Titiksha may be low. He may be a short-tempered person and jump at every little thing. Or Shamadama may be low. He helps the Shishya. But the responsibility of ensuring the Shishya gains this knowledge becomes that of the Guru. Swami G used to tell us when we were learning full time, you commit your next 3 years here with me. I will show you the Vastu, the truth. He took it upon himself. So the Guru does have a responsibility. Generally, if you go to the Guru, means you've already got a lot of background, a lot of work has been done, and if he has followed all these previous steps, then the Guru knows what he is looking for. All the same, Guru waits for him to ask. So what should the Shishya ask? One simple thing is say, I hear I've understood that there is a jnanam which tells me I am Purnaha, but I can't see it for my life. Please teach me. Simple. Teach me Brahma Jnanam, Atma Jnanam, Moksha Jnanam, all the same thing. Adhihi Bhagavo Brahmeti. So in the next step, he says, Brahmaikaksharam Atyatham. Pratyatham. May this knowledge be sought, asked for, prayed for by the Shishya who has already well prepared his mind, or her mind. Brahmaikaksharam Atyatham. So you really ask for that jnanam. Jnanam of what? That which is ekam and aksharam. Ekam cha aksharam cha. That Brahman which is ekam cha aksharam cha. Which is Advaita, no second. That reality, the truth, which has no other second, and which is aksharam, is unborn. Undestroyable, therefore unborn. Teach me that jnanam. What is the jnanam of Brahman? That aksharam Brahman. That is Paravidya. So the Guru says, all right, here is what you do. You sit and hear. You do Shravanam. Shravanam is the main effort. You submit yourself to that pramana. And that pramana is Shabda Pramana. And we've seen that Shabda by itself can have very misleading, disastrous interpretations. Therefore, sit and do Shravanam from the Guru. This Shravanam has two other angas. Mananam and Nididhyasana. We will also talk about it. Shravanam means not just sit there and hear. That is one meaning of Shravanam for sure. Shravanam also means vicharyatam. Brahmaikaksharam arthyatam. Ask for that knowledge. And the first thing that comes is Shrutishiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Because even Shastra says, Vedanta Upanishad says, Atma va re drishyatam. Drishtavyam, Shrotavyam, Mantavyam, Nididhastavyam. You only have to understand, Drishtavyam means understand. What is the nature of the Atma? Same thing as Brahman. By Shravanam. Listen and think. vichara. Now, look at this. He doesn't say, we'd already said, Vedo nityam adhiyatam to begin with. Read the Veda, the entire Veda, and understand what the Veda tells one to do. Tadvidam karma sanushtiyatam. Now he is not saying, he's already said that you give up all the kamya karma, you also give up the vihita karma. So if you have given up the vihita karma, then that is all there in the bulk portion of the Veda. That is not what he is asking you to do sādhanaṃ. He is saying, Shrutishiro vakyam samakarnyatam. Samyak akarnyatam. May you hear. Karna is here. Akarnyatam is, may it be heard by you. Shrutishira. What is Shrutishira? If you look at the total Veda and compare it to a body, calls a body of knowledge, no? The head of that is the Vedanta. The portion, the Upanishad is called Shrutishira. And Shrutishira has several Vakya. That all these Vakyas which say that, hey, you the Jiva and Ishvara are one and the same. Aikyam that any Shruti Vakyam brings about is called a Mahavaakya. Mahavaakya does not mean long sentence or a heavy sentence. Only that which shows the Aikyam between Jiva and Ishvara. Jiva is microcosm of the whole thing. Ishvara is macrocosm. That any sentence which gives that equation is a Mahavaakya. There are actually Mahavakyams scattered also in the Karmakanda portion. But there the focus is on means and ends. Only here in the Shrutishira, in the Vedanta portion, there is only focus on this knowledge of Aikyam between Jiva and Ishvara. So that Vakya has to be analyzed. You hear, you and Ishvara are the same. Repeatedly will say that. But how? How do I say they are the same? When you look at the Jiva, there are probably broadly two components to the Jiva. One which is the unchanging component, and another which is constantly changing component. Our idea of a Jiva is restricted easily within the Sharira. But every element of the Sharira, if you take it as a set, every element of the Sharira which is changeable can be classified into one set. But there has to be something which is unchanging. How do you account for it otherwise? There are many ways this is done in the Shastra. Avastatraya is, for example, one. If I look at the jiva and say the jiva has three states, the waking state, when both the sthula sharira and the sukshma sharira are active and interact with the rest of Jagat. And the other end is the deep sleep state, at which neither the sthula sharira nor the sukshma sharira is active. Both have gone unmanifest. There is, of course, the exception of the prana, because life has to come back to the same point. So prana continues to operate on autopilot. And there's the intermediate state, which is neither waking state nor deep sleep state, at which the sthula sharira is unmanifest. But sukshma sharira, the mind, is active. In fact, sometimes overactive. You keep seeing all kinds of dreams. And this interaction now, in this waking state, the interaction was with the external world. In the deep sleep state, there's no interaction. Here, the interaction is all internal. Now look at these three states. A waker cannot be a deep sleeper. A deep sleeper cannot be a dreamer. A waker cannot be a dreamer unless he's doing daydreaming. Each one is independent and mutually exclusive. Are there then three different jivas? It keeps changing, cycle keeps happening. But something has to be constant right through. No? That awareness that I'm walking, that I'm throwing a stone, is there. That awareness that I am angry or hungry, awareness is there. In deep sleep also, that awareness is there. When you get up in the morning, the statement usually is, I slept well. Awareness is still there. There is this awareness which is common across all three. In Mandukya Upanishad, it talks of these three states. And this fourth, not a fourth state, but the fourth called Turiya, which has to be common across all this. Otherwise, how do you identify the same person? Unchanging. Like this, there are many prakriyas that Shastra uses. This is one. There are Panchakosha prakriya, there is Dritya prakriya. All of these identify the difference between that portion of what we think could be the jiva, which is constantly subject to change, and that portion which has to be stable, unchanging. This method of analysis of what is changing portion, what is unchanging portion, is a technique called Anvaya Vyatireka. That which remains unchanging, Anvaya, and that which is constantly changing. Like that, you have several prakriyas, methodologies for identifying that which cannot be jiva or cannot be the essential nature of the jiva, and what is unchanging and therefore could be the jiva. This method is called Anvaya Vyatireka. In Mundaka Upanishad, we saw another methodology. So you have three things you are looking at: the self, jiva, the jagat, all this around us, and Ishvara. Between these three, everything is covered. In Mundaka Upanishad, we saw another technique called Adhyaropa Apavada. You first come up with the model for the creation of the Jagat. The Panchabhutas came first. And from the Panchabhutas came all the Sukshma and the Sthula Prapancham, how they combined. So you have an explanation for this Jagat. Then this whole Jagat, purpose of Vedanta is not to explain away the Jagat, but to start with, because to us Jagat is real. Therefore, to start with, it has an explanation for the Jagat. Then there is an Apavada. What is Apavada? In negation. That the entire Jagat is Karyam, is an effect. And the Karanam for this is Jagat Karanam Brahma called Ishvara. And that Karanam is Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. Is both the material cause and the intelligent cause for the creation of the Jagat. Then by using logic again, you say that which is a Karyam cannot be separate from the Karanam. And a lot of examples are given. Therefore, whatever we accept as Jagat is dependent upon the Karanam for its very existence. It is non-separate from them. So there we are, the Shastra explained by using Adhyaropa Apavada method. This kind of analytical thinking is what is being said here. Shrutishiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Samyak Akarnyatam. May this be thoroughly heard and understood. It still doesn't give you Brahmajnana. It is still in the realm of what it is not. But this is also necessary. Shrutishiro Vakyam Samakarnitam. Vakyam could mean the whole Veda is also Vakyam, as long as the subject matter is the same. Here, Vakyam, where it talks about the oneness, Jiveshwara Aikyam. This is an equation. Tat Tvamasi. That equation has to be understood. Simply put in English, you'll say you're Ishvara, and the fellow will say you're mad. How can I be Ishvara? I can't even control my own children. Forget about controlling the world. And if the woman, she will say, I can't even control my husband. That fellow keeps doing whatever he wants. The fact is, Shastra says, you are Ishvara. The whole study revolves around how to understand this. Why is there such a huge gap, a gorge, an abyss between I and Ishvara, and how can they be the same? I am here pratyaksha. Ishvara is paroksha in Yurkar, wherever he is, Kailasha or heaven or wherever. How can I be the same? There has to be something that's not clearly understood. So all this vichara is included in samakarnyatam. It is not music in the background. I only hear. Comes from here and goes from here. It has to be processed. That's part of Shravanam. So, Maikaksharam, Pratyatam, and Shrutishiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Continuing on the Shravanam only. Once one has done a certain amount of Shravanam, and all this confusion has already been created in the mind by saying you're Ishvara. And says Vakyartham Vicharyatam, part of Shravanam. How can I understand this Vakya? There's so many things it tells me which are so contradictory to what I think I know. You are, it says, Ananda Swarupa. You are Ananta, without limit. But I know myself to be limited. Limited by the extremities of the body, limited by all these shortcomings. I also know myself to be subject to dukkha. And here is Shastra telling me, I am Ananda Swarupa. If I am Ananda Swarupa, how can I be subject to dukkha? Contradiction in terms. I know I am subject to dukkha. In fact, my life is sukha, sukha, dukkha, 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 sukha, sukha, sukha. Normal human life goes through like this. How can you say Ananda Swarupa? Big question mark. Then it talks about the Jagat. Jagat, which is so solid to me, on which I stub my toe so many times, it is illusory. It's like a hologram projection. You can put your hand through it. What are you talking? Another confusion. And the biggest confusion of all, Ishvara. I have a great concept of Ishvara. Ishvara, God sitting in heaven, all powerful, omniscient, is the same as you. Very difficult to accept. How can I be the same? I can't sleep at night because my mind is disturbed. How can I say I'm Ishvara? Whereas I'm told that my Ishvara, Perumal, he sleeps maybe on a snake, but he keeps sleeping. I can't sleep. Big confusion. So he said, Vicharyatam. Again, a lot of logic is used. Think about this. We said it's an equation. Tat tvam asi. You are that. You, that, equal to. Why do you need an equation given to you by Shastra if they are anyway different? Is there something Shastra is trying to tell us? You give 2 apples and 2 oranges to the child and say they are the same. The child looks at it and says, how can they be the same? This is apple, this is orange. But what you're trying to point out to the child is not the apple or the orange. You're saying, remove the orangeness, remove the appleness, then what do you have? 2 equal to 2. That is what you're trying to tell the child. Because apparently on the surface, it looks very different. As we grow up, we read Einstein, he says, energy is same as matter. But it is the same. You need an equation only if apparently they are different. If they are anyway the same, if I'm going to say 3 plus 7 equal to 3 plus 7, why do you need an equation? I need an equation as a child again. If I said 3 plus 7 is equal to 21 minus 11. Nothing is the same between the 2 sides. How can they be the same? As you learn, you begin to understand why they are the same. By taking out those elements which are not really relevant. Like I said, take out the appleness and the orangeness in the 2 sides of the equation. Then you can see inside and say they are the same. It is called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Don't go just by the words. Look beyond. Swami is very wary of the word beyond. because they're so commonly misused. Look at what is common. Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Lakshana is, one is simply Vachyartha, the word meaning, the word meaning. If we simply take the word meaning at word meaning, then if I say Tattvamasi, you cannot say they're the same. You cannot equate them. But if you look at the Lakshya, what is the intention behind it? Then you look at the apparent differences and take them out. Orangeness and appleness you take out. And see what is it that is common. You remember the famous example we have? One Devadatta, one Yajnadatta and Somadatta. They knew each other very well as children. And they grew up, they went to different places. Their careers, life took different directions. Yajnadatta and Somadatta managed to meet. Every once in a while they'd meet. One day Yajnadatta met Devadatta after many, many years. This Devadatta he knew. He was a slim, active person who did not believe that there is a God. Who was what he called a rational person. Today, this guy has a Madhya Pradesh. He had black curly hair. He has no hair now. He's got now great devotee of God. He's got Vibhuti and everything else. His thinking is nothing like the Devadatta he knew. His physical appearance is nothing like the Devadatta he knew. But he identified Devadatta. And then together they met Somadatta. So Yajnadatta asked Somadatta, hey, you know who this is? Hey, this is our friend Devadatta. What? He doesn't look like that. He doesn't speak like that. He doesn't think like that. Devadatta I knew. Yeah, it is the same Devadatta. What has changed? That Devadatta and this Devadatta, that and this. That Devadatta was different in time. This Devadatta is different in time. That Devadatta had different characteristics. This Devadatta has different characteristics. And yet you recognize Devadatta. How do you do that? You look at all those apparent differences, put them aside, look deeper, and see what is it that remains common. So one bhaga, you do tyaga. One portion of that Devadatta, time, place, hair, thinking, everything, you put aside. You take this Devadatta and the same bhaga you put aside. Then you recognize the Devadatta as being the same Devadatta. Jiva and Ishvara. Equation says Jiva is the same as Ishvara. How do you define Jiva? By Jivatvam, the characteristics that define a Jiva. What is that we know the Jiva by, not define the Jiva. Alpagnya, knows little. Alpa Shaktiman, has some Shakti, but limited in every way. These are characteristics. Like Devadatta's characteristics. You look at Ishvara, Ishvaratvam, omniscient, all-knowing, Sarvashaktiman, had the six bhaga in unlimited measure. These apparent differences, if you set aside, what you have left, this bhaga and this bhaga, you do tyaga of. Now we get the lakshana of jiva and the lakshana of Ishvara. What is the lakshana of jiva? Once you remove all of these, what is left? Consciousness, awareness, Brahman. If you remove all this from the Ishvaratvam, what is left? Consciousness, awareness, Brahman. Now I see what Lakshya is. Jiveshvara Aikyam becomes possible. Or Bhagatyaga Lakshya, Lakshana. We're looking just not at what is available on the surface. So this kind of vichara you do. Shravanam, I said, includes vichara. Vakyartasya vicharyatam. So once you have come to the stage where the focus is on this jnanam, all this follows. Understand the vakyartha in the form of lakshyartha, not the vachyartha. Nothing looks the same. There are so many apparent differences on the surface. So Vedanta has this Ekavakyam, the one Vakyam which we are analyzing, supported by a lot of other Vakyas. Every Upanishad, every text has this called Avantara Vakya, supporting Vakya. All this only to understand that one Vakya which gives you the Aikyam. Vicharyatam. Think about what one has heard. The Guru will unfold it step by step. But one is still think, because what happens is that this seems to be so different from what I had learned in so many years of my life. And therefore, to gain this knowledge, for removing the ajnana nivritti, I have to do repeated shravanam. Why do you need so many Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and this text? If I understand it just in one text, I don't need to read any other text. But because of this difficulty, that our preconceived notions are so strong. Remember, these are not notions which have come in one day or in one lifetime. And they are constantly supported and reinforced by everybody else around me. Everybody tells me, hey, you Buddhu, come here. Everybody points out your lack, your limitation. Maybe starting from the parents themselves to the school teacher. to all your friends, all of them point out where you're limited. And here is Shastra coming and saying you're unlimited. So it takes certain continued effort to understand what Shastra says. That's why it is said all the notions that we have, do not discard them. Keep them. And as one does more and more and more Shravanam, connect them and say, where is the difference? How do I understand the difference? So this is one knowledge where it is not simple belief. The simple belief will tell you, throw away all you know and simply follow what I tell you. He doesn't even say follow what I tell you. Faith will tell you swallow what I tell you. One doesn't have to do that. One has to vichara and understand where it is that what I thought and what has now been told by Shastra, where is the difference and why is the difference? That is vichara. So in Shravanam itself, you do an effort to ajnana, for ajnana nivritti. And by doing that, he says, Shrutishira Pakshas Samashriyatam. Ashriyatam. May one see the lakshyartha, what is trying to say, and may one follow it. You will not follow it unless you're convinced. And if there's a clash between what you already know and what Shastra says, that has to be resolved before one can accept it. What we know usually can be either because it is said by somebody in whom I have complete faith. He said so, so I am believing. One way of gathering whatever knowledge we gather. When we were children, no, we've seen this happen very interestingly. If the class teacher says something, right or wrong, and the mother tells him, no, this is not correct, you should do like this, the child will never accept it. Because absolute faith in the class teacher. That is one aspect of it. I know because I have heard so and so say this. Therefore, you have all these quotes. And the other is because I have inferred this. You remember, among the 5 pramana, inference is a big pramana. In fact, much of our life is run by inference. We don't have direct knowledge of a lot of things. We draw it by inference. A conclusion that we draw based on something else. That logic, I see this, I perceive this, see it, hear it, whatever. And I know for a fact that if this is there, this must be there. Classic example is, you see a lot of smoke, you see only the smoke, but you infer that there is fire because you know that without fire, there can be no smoke. Or vyapti. If you think about it, most of what we do in life is through this kind of inference. The knowledge that we gain is through inference. We don't actually see by direct pratyaksha pramana most things. We only see something else, we conclude something else. If I hear trumpeting outside Arshavidyalaya, I conclude that there's an elephant there. I've not seen the elephant. So most of our life is driven by this kind of conclusions drawn from inference. All the knowledge we have, so either it is belief because it is said by somebody in whom we have faith, or because we have inferred. Both are subject to possible errors. Just because Nelson Mandela said it, it need not necessarily be correct. We have great respect for Nelson Mandela. But not everything he said may be right. Not every inference I draw may be correct. We will see some of this in the classes tomorrow and thereafter. But these are the only two sources by which we store information, store knowledge. So when we get this additional input from the Shastra, in whom we have Shraddha. Now, please distinguish between Shraddha and faith. Shraddha asks you to accept Shastra as a pramana, but asks you to verify everything that you learn from this pramana. Asks you to make sure that there is no contradiction between this and something else. If there is contradiction, asks you to resolve that contradiction, not accept it. In fact, it is the only, Vedanta is the only spiritual knowledge, if you want, for want of a better word, which can be known through understanding. Even the Veda portion is belief. Veda says, if you do this, you go to Svargaloka. Yamadharmaraja gave this instructions to the mantra and the procedure to Nachiketa. How do you know? Only belief. Every religion is like that. Only belief. Only Vedanta takes you to the next level by saying, understand it. So, Shrutishira Pakshas Samashriyatam. Through this kind of analysis, through this kind of comparison with what we think we know already, either through inference or through certain knowledge we gain by reading, hearing, by that kind of comparison, resolve any potential differences. We are still doing Shravanam. So the sadhaka went to the Guru after preparation, the initial steps, asked for this knowledge, and the Guru said, do Shravanam. So this is what Shravanam is. Has to be done repeatedly, contemplated upon, analyzed, compared with what we think we know, questioned. Then you come to the state where a certain ajnana nivritti takes place. That's not enough. What else is required? We will see tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.